Okay, so I'm going to talk to you guys tonight about anatomical illustration. Don't be nervous, it's not going to get gross on my slides. Hopefully it'll be cute and you'll like it. I do anatomical illustration out of an odd technique. I do it out of knitting. And I think the reason why, well, so I should go back. I started knitting about 20 years ago, and I taught myself to knit in order to quit smoking. And it worked. I locked myself in my house over a 3-day weekend with this book that I got at a thrift store. Sticks, string, Twizzlers, no cigarettes. And the thing that happens when you teach yourself to knit in order to quit smoking is that you suddenly knit all the time. You never stop knitting. And your family eventually says, okay, please stop. We don't need any more hats. We're dripping in knitting. We don't need scarves. No more socks. Please stop. And so I had to think of a way I could keep knitting and not like fill my house up with knitting and maybe make some money to get more yarn to keep knitting. So I started making these little creatures, little stuffed animals like this rabbit. I was doing a monkey and teddy bears and like cute little things. And I started doing frogs, and I really liked them because I found these big plastic eyes that were like the perfect thing for frogs. And one day, my husband was like, wouldn't it be really funny if you did one that had like a third leg? I think they were in the news, like those mutant frogs that had that weird third leg. And I was like, oh, that's a good idea. Well, what if? And then we started brainstorming and like, what are weird things we could do? And we came up with the idea of like, what if we did an anatomically dissected frog? And my brain was like, anatomical frog, boom. I knew exactly what it was I wanted to do. I knew how it was going to look. Technique it was all there. And so I got working right away and I made one. And I think the reason that it was such a like lightning bolt is because I have always loved anatomical art and medieval history in particular. This is the grossest it gets, I promise. I love medieval history. I love scientific history, medical history, infectious disease. I love all that kind of gory, yucky stuff. And so the idea of marrying the thing that I love doing and the thing that I love studying, boom, it was super great. I love early modern anatomical illustration. I think the marriage of science and art is like, it's something that goes back such a long way, and I'm just fascinated by it. But I can't draw, and I can't, I can't draw, I can't paint. But what I can do is I can knit. So I made the frog, and the next thing I ended up making was this little lab rat. I've made a couple of other things. I've done a fetal pig, a bat, an earthworm, which is the first thing I ever had to dissect in junior high. I've done some stuff that's maybe not real. So I did this very accurate alien. Tell me I'm wrong. I did an Easter bunny. His little guts were plastic, the plastic grass that you put in your basket, and then he had just eggs, little Easter eggs for his organs. I often do commissions. So this is an 18-inch walleye that was commissioned by Parks Canada, and they were doing a summer program with 8-year-olds, and they wanted to teach them how to clean their fish. So I hand knitted this, and then I hand dyed the stripes on so that it would be really accurate, and gave it the lateral the lateral line, and then it has this little pocket. So it's a little zipper pocket, and the kids can unzip it and then pull the guts out. And they have little, they're snapped in so that they have to kind of get in there and kind of get them out. So that was really fun. Recently, I've been doing a lot more human art, getting back toward the more anatomical illustration rather than like little sculptures. And what I've been doing is basically just knitting a flat square or rectangle, and then I'll take unspun wool roving or yarn and kind of needle felt a design onto the knitted piece of fabric, and then glue it into a frame. So it's a little bit more illustrative. It's almost like drawing with wool. The brain there is actually a big long knitted cord that I then kind of squiggled up and sewed in place. And so to this day, my mom, who loves me and is very proud of me, still does say, who buys these things? Like, who on earth would want this in their house? Weirdos like me. This is a 3D sculpture that was another commission, and it's a guy who, I don't think he's a doctor or anything. I think he just wanted a head in his house. But it's life size. The ear, nose, and throat doctors, that's the outer ear, and then the inner ear, kind of all the bones and stuff in there. So I do a lot of, I don't really know who everybody is that buys, because not many people tell me, but a lot of people are like, a lot of people when I do get a note are like, my son's graduating from veterinary school, or my uncle is an endocrinologist. And so I also get things like this, which is an actual dog that someone sent me a photograph of their poodle. And he said, well, I would love it if you do a bisected poodle, my poodle, for my wife as an anniversary present. I said, oh my gosh, I absolutely am going to do that. Thank you. So the other thing I do is I also do stained glass. So I'm kind of always doing different things. And I've been doing glass for 20 years. And it wasn't until late last year that I realized, hey, wait a minute, medieval art, medieval craft, anatomical art, anatomical medieval. Why have I not married these things together yet? So it was, I don't know why it took me this long, but late last year I made this. It's a 12 by 18 panel, anatomical heart. It's the one from Grey's Anatomy, if anyone's ever actually browsed through that like I did when I was a little girl, which maybe is kind of what happened to get me here. The glass is hand blown, it's gorgeous, and then I took glass paint and painted the design, the veins and stuff on. And then this was a commission. A guy bought the heart, and then he was like, could you do a brain as well? I have friends who are doctors. One's a heart surgeon and one's going to be a neurosurgeon, getting married. So got two going together. So this was a commission that was super fun, and that's kind of where I'm headed. So thank you.